Please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the trial chamber will commence hearing the testimony of the witness, Real Son, and the co-prosecutors will be given the floor first. The combined time for the prosecution and the lead co-lawyer for civil parties is 1 full day. Mr. Wong, could you report the attendance of the parties and the individuals to today's proceedings? Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. As for Mr. Nuchi, he is present in the holding cell downstairs, as he requires to waive his rights to be present in the courtroom. His waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The witness who is to testify today, that is Mr. Real Son and his duty counsel, Mr. Dutch Parrish, are present in the courtroom. Thank you. President, thank you. The chamber now decides on the request by the accused Nguyen Chie. The chamber has received the waiver by the accused Nguyen Chie, dated 17 March 2015. He confirms that due to his health, that is his headache, back pain, and that he cannot sit for long, and in order to effectively participate in the future hearings, he requests to waive his rights to participate in and be present at the 17 March 2015 hearing. He has been informed by his counsel that about the consequence of the waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented or admitted to this court at any time during his trial. Having seen the medical report by the duty doctor for the accused Nguyen Chie at the ECCC dated 17 March 2015, who notes that the health condition of Nguyen Chie is that he has a constant back pain and that he cannot sit for long. The doctor also recommends that the chamber shall grant Nguyen Chie his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely. Based on the above information and pursuant to Internal Rule 81.5 of the ECCC Internal Rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chie's request to follow the proceedings remotely from a holding cell downstairs via audio-visual means for today's proceedings, as he waives his direct presence in the courtroom. The AV unit is instructed to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chie can participate in and follow today's proceedings remotely. Now the chamber will hand the floor to the co-prosecutors to put the questions to this witness. You may proceed. National Deputy Co-Prosecutor. Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honors, and good morning, everyone in and around the courtroom. And good morning, Mr. Witness. My name is Sain Liang. I'm a National Deputy Co-Prosecutor. I have some questions for you today in order to seek your clarification for the benefit of the chamber and the parties. First of all, I'd like to ask some questions in relation to your background. And after that, I'll put some questions in relation to the cooperative. And the subsequent subject is on the treatment of Buddhists. And the fourth subject is related to the event that you was appointed as chief of the hospital in Tramkot district. And after I conclude my questioning, my colleague will have some further questions for you on other subject matters. Let me begin with my first question. In your OCIJ interview, that is document E319.1.21, at answer number 3, you stated the following, and let me quote: "After the coup d'etat against Samdai Sihanouk, Tamok started his movement to assemble forces. I lived in a village near the one where Tamok lived then, and because of that I joined the movement." End of quote. And at question number 6, and let me quote the question: "Did you have confidence in the Khmer Rouge revolution?" Answer: I did have confidence in it initially because of my communist ideology, and so I joined the revolution without hesitation. End of quote. Also in the same document, in answer number 200, you said, and I quote: "Initially I loved the revolution, but later on, when I heard of the Cultural Revolution, I stopped liking it right away." End of quote. Can you tell the chamber what was specifically that caused you to no longer like the revolution? Answer: the reason that I no longer had confidence in the revolution because I heard that such a cultural revolution, and from what I read the documents while I was young, that kind of revolution was done in China, and about 30 people killed as a result. If that were to happen in Cambodia, it meant I myself would be dead. I got some education and I would be smashed. Because in such a revolution, that is a cultural revolution, the educated ones would be smashed and they would build a new force. And in fact, through my observation, Angka appointed people in the way that I understood. That means the educated people at the village or commune were not appointed to any position. Only the uneducated ones, some even were illiterate, were appointed to be chief, for instance, group chiefs or chiefs of villages. That was the reason I no longer had confidence in this so-called cultural revolution. And that's it, Mr. Prosecutor. Prosecutor, thank you. So, what did you mean by your reference to the Cultural Revolution? Can you expand on that? Answer: it is my understanding that once a cultural revolution is initiated, the intellectuals or the educated ones who did not join the rank or the line of the revolution would be smashed, and whoever opposed Angkar would also be smashed. Thank you, says the prosecutor. You also stated that your home village was close to the village where Atamok came from. Can you tell the court what was Tamok's home village and how far was it from your village? Answer. Tamok lived in Prokip, a village, Trapang Thom Countabong commune, while I lived in Prey Talay village, Trapang Thom Kanchern commune. It means we were living in an adjacent commune or village. Question. When was the first time you met Tamok? And did you know his family? Answer. I met him in 1975, right in 1975, when he was walking through the market. As for his family, his wife was come and I knew her well. As we were not living far from one another, his house was about 1 kilometer from my house. Question. Did you have any special relationship with his wife before you met him? Answer. No, not at all. Question. You said that you knew his wife clearly. Can you tell the court how did you become to know her well? Answer. Because she lived in a nearby village. However, at that time I did not know what she did. And sometimes we went to get some firewood in the forest and we met one another. Thank you, and let me return to your written record of interview with the officer of the CIJ again. In the document E3/5511, at answer number 2, you stated the following. And let me quote. People said in 1957 or 1958, Khieu Sampon came to meet Tamok. End of quote. I would like to clarify with you whether it was 1957-58 that Khieu Sampon came to meet Tamok, or 1967 or 68, which is when Khieu Sampon, Hu Jun and Hu Nam fled Phnom Penh to join the resistance. Answer. I cannot recall the year clearly. However, at that time, people throughout the village and the adjacent village knew that Khieu Sampon and Tamok met one another, though I did not know where they met. Prosecutor: Who exactly told you that Khieu Samphan had come to meet the Tamok? I cannot tell you who exactly, but everybody at the time said the same thing. And I did not know who actually was the first one that knew about this matter. Question: Did you know the reason why Khieu Samphan came to meet the Mok at the time? Answer: No, not at that time. Neither the villagers nor I knew the reason for the meeting. I did not know which position Tamok held or which position Khieu Samphan held at that time. Question: Did you personally ever see Khieu Samphan in Tramkot district or in Takai province? And if so, when and where? Answer: To my knowledge, I met him once. However, I did not meet him face to face. At that time, I was building a dam at Kpop Trop Bai, and Ye Kham, that is Tamok's wife, was carrying some stuff, and I had a bicycle near the dam, so I helped her in carrying the rice cake, while she still carried some other cake, rice cake on her head. And we reached Norie village, which is now called Steng village. There were plenty of bamboo trees there, and when we reached that location, she told me to drop off the rice cake. And she told me that person was Khieu Samphan. I had a quick look at him, and that was the only encounter that I had with Khieu Samphan, and I knew him because Tamok's wife told me so. Prosecutor: Thank you. And let me move to another subject, that is in relation to cooperatives. In your OCIJ interview, that is document E3/5511 at answer number 3, you stated the following, and let me quote: After 1975, the cooperative was formed, and many people died at that time. And below that, a little bit further, you said, we did not have enough food to eat and enough clothes to wear. End of quote. Can you tell the court when were cooperatives implemented in your commune, that is in the Peng Thum Chung? Answer: I forget the date. However, cooperatives were established, and once they were established, it was the time that our cooking utilities, our rice product were asked to be put for common use at the cooperatives. Question: were the cooperatives immediately formed after the country fell in 1975, in April 1975, or was it formed toward the late 1975? Answer: cooperatives were established toward the end of 1975. And as for District 105, in my commune, the cooperative was first formed. And then, after that, other cooperatives were established in other communes within District 105. Question: why did you say that many people died after the cooperatives were formed? Answer: after the cooperatives were established, people kept disappearing. At night time, there were people who would come to call those people to go, and they disappeared, including my uncle. My uncle complained about the cooperative, and one night he disappeared and he never returned. Prosecutor, thank you for your response in relation to your uncle. And I will have more questions on the issue of your uncle later on. How did the implementation of cooperatives affect the supply of food that was available for people to eat? Answer: initially, when the cooperative was established, I was happy as we would have a common meal. So for those who lacked food, would be able to eat. However, later on, and let me give you an example. In my family, we grew through rice patch or through plots of land for cucumber, and for the entire village, they could only planted rice for 3 lengths of plot. So if that happened, the rice yield was not sufficient for the people in the cooperative, and then some people started to complain about the lack of food. So for that reason, I believe that the cooperative was not that good for the people. Question: in regards to the lack of sufficient food, you also made the following statement in answer 3 of your interview with the OCIJ. That is the same document, E3/5511. And let me quote: if someone complained about the lack of food and the complaint was overheard, they were invited to go out at night time and never returned. End of quote. Do you remember any people who disappeared after complaining about the lack of food in the cooperatives? Answer: most of the people did complain, but they did not do it publicly, not like in the case of my uncle, who did it openly, that he stated that the cooperative was not good, and then he disappeared. Thank you, says the prosecutor. And Mr. President, For my next line of questions, I would like to seek your leave to provide a document to the witness. The document is E3/4108, which is a report from Pope Trabai Commune. And I seek your leave, Mr. President. President, yes, you may proceed. Co-prosecutor, Mr. Witness, the document that you have in your hand is a report from Pope Trabai Commune dated 8 May 1977, and it was signed by a cadre named Jom. It identified two former Lonol soldiers, a corporal and a captain, who had criticized the revolution and complained about the lack of food. One was reported as saying, let me quote, "What is the use of doing socialist revolution when there is no food?" End of quote. And the other had complained that the people did not get enough to eat even while there is plenty of food in the warehouse. They could eat at their own pleasure in that village, but for us, we did not have anything to eat. And my question to you is the following. Did you know a Khmer Rouge leader from Pope Trabai Commune named Jom? And was Jom related to Tamok? Answer: yes, I know Tajom. Tajom was the chief of Pope Trabai Commune, and he was the younger blood brother of Tamok.
Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Now, going back again to answer 3 of your interview under A3/5511, you stated that, and I quote, "My uncle Long Neck was accused of betraying Angkar. He was called out and disappeared." Mr. Witness, could you elaborate the reason why he was arrested? Answer: when he was arrested, as I told you earlier, he complained about the cooperative, and he said that in the future it will become a communist, a real communist, and he will not willing to be part of it. Co-prosecutor, thank you. Did you know who came and called him out, and who ordered that person to call him out? Answer: no, I didn't know about that because I was far away from him, and it happened at night. I've asked his wife and children, but they could not tell me who came to call him out because it happened at night. Co-prosecutor, since he was called out until the prison time, have you ever met him again? Answer: since he was called out, he disappeared and I have never met him. We celebrated a ritual ceremony for him a few times already. Co-prosecutor, thank you. Mr. Witness, can you indicate for the court before and during the DK regime, what was he doing for a living? I'm talking about your uncle. Answer. Before the decay regime, my uncle was a farmer, a rice farmer, and he did some plantation to earn his living. Co-prosecutor, could you indicate or elaborate a bit further what he did during DK regime, or was he just a simple villager? Answer, he was a simple villager. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Now I would like to come to 1975, 1976, when you were assigned as a staff at Tramkok Hospital. You said as the following in answer number 4 of your interview under E3/5511, and I quote, I did not live together with my family. I was sent to work in a craft unit. My children were sent to other places to tend cattle, while my wife lived in the cooperative. I could ask for leave to see my wife, but it could not be done often. Some people ask for leave to visit their family, but leave was refused. If they secretly visited their family and the visits were discovered, they disappeared. End of quote. My question for you is as the following. When was it, in relation to 17 April 1975, that your family was separated and you were no longer allowed to live with your wife and your children? Answer. My family members were separated since the creation of the cooperative, and we always been separated since then. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. In relation to this, was there any cadre in your commune or your district who explain the reasons why Angkar will not allow people to live freely with your family, your children, or they will not allow any visit at your freedom? Was there any explanation or announcement like this? Answer. No one has ever explained me about this. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. And talking about freedom of meeting or visiting your family members, you said that you can ask for leave to visit your family member, but you could not do that very often, and some other people asked for a permission to visit, but his request was refused. if they try secretly to visit and if it was discovered, he or she will disappear. Can you elaborate a bit further on this? Answer. I heard this from the unit chief saying that if anyone who went to visit family member without any permission, he or she will be in trouble and the person may disappear. Question. Who was your unit chief? Answer. My unit chief was Mon. He is dead now. Question. Was he the one who made an order? Was it in general in your cooperative? Was it so strict for family visits like the one you have just told the court? Answer. In fact, I don't know for sure, but at the meetings, he announced the same as I have just told you a while ago. Prosecutor, now talking about your wife, she was assigned to a different cooperative. Which cooperative was she sent to? Answer. She was assigned and sent to Tasun cooperative in the same Trapang Thom Cheung village. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. At each time when you met with your wife, did she tell you anything about living condition and food ration at her cooperative? Answer. Yes, she did. In her cooperative, she was assigned to do the cooking at the kitchen, and there was very limited food and vegetable, and people complain about food ration. Question. Did she tell you that the villager in her cooperative have enough to eat? Answer. She told me that people did not have enough to eat. People would eat rice gruel, and the soup was very little for everyone. Everyone would receive only a small bowl of soup per meal. Co-prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Did she tell you any difficulty in or at her cooperative? President, hold on, witness. Answer. She told me that it was very difficult at her cooperative, but all she need to do is to try to live better than to die. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Now I would like to move on to another topic. And this is about the treatment of Buddhists. In your OCIJ interview under document E319.1.21, At answers number 45 to 48, you described how near the beginning of the Khmer Rouge regime you witnessed about 100 monks who were defrocked at Wat Ong Roka Pagoda. First, can you tell us where Ong Roka Pagoda was located in relation to your home village? Answer: Ong Roka Pagoda was about 2 kilometers away from my village, and I would take a road from Ong Tasam to Ong Roka, and the distance was probably 8 kilometers away. Prosecutor: Thank you, Mr. Witness. After 17 April 1975, how often did you go to or by the Ong Roka Pagoda? Answer: No, I didn't go there very often. Co-prosecutor: Thank you, witness. And can you please tell the court what you witnessed at the pagoda in terms of the defrocking of 100 monks at that Ong Roka Pagoda? Answer: On that day, I saw a jeep car transporting black uniform and entered into the pagoda. There were 100 monks or more there, and I took food and alms to offer to the monk, but there were a few people, few villagers who offer meals and alms to the monks. And then the car arrived with a load of black uniform, and the uniform were unloaded from the car, and they started defrocking the monks. Question: On that day, were all the 100 monks defrocked? Answer: No, I didn't witness the defrocking because I left the pagoda, but later the former monks who were from the vicinity or the nearby village were all wearing black uniform. Prosecutor: Thank you, Mr. Witness. You also stated in answer 49 of that same OCIJ interview that, and I quote, I saw the Khmer Rouge demolish the sculptures and temples, and they removed the smaller Buddhist statue from the pagoda and throw them into the water and buried them. End of quote. My question is as follows. Who were the Khmer Rouge cadres who you saw demolishing or throwing away Buddhist sculpture and statues? Answer: I don't know those Khmer Rouge cadres, but there were about 10 or 20 people, some of them demolishing the sculpture in the temple, others would remove Buddha shrine and thrown them into the water and the small Buddha shrine, and they buried them in the ground. And then I heard the monks were defrocked. Prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. And in your answer 50 of the same OCIJ interview under E319.1.21, you testify as follows, and I quote, Ta H, who was the head of the monks at the pagoda, protested against the Khmer Rouge's orders. He beat the drum to call the people to protest against the Khmer Rouge, but no one there come. The Khmer Rouge clique only beat him 2 or 3 times with a club. End of quote. And my question for you is as follows. Did you personally witness the head monk of Angkor Pagoda be beaten with a club by the Khmer Rouge forces? Or is this something you were told? Answer. Talking about the beating of the head of the monks, I didn't witness it, but I heard from other people, and later I heard that he was defrocked. He was beaten for beating the drum to call people to protest against the Khmer Rouge. Co-prosecutor, could you tell the court who told you about this incident? President, witness, please hold on until the microphone is activated. Answer. No, I don't know. I don't remember the person who told me this story. Co-prosecutor, based on what you have just told the court, on the date that the head of monk was beating and the defrocking, were the two incidents happen at the same day, in the same day, or different days? Answer. Those incidents happen in the same day. Question. Was it at the same time the incident happened, the beating and the defrocking was at the same time, or a little different in time? Answer. It happened at the same time when the monks were defrocked. Question. How long have you known Taek? Have you ever been to Angkor Pagoda for praying? Answer. I know him for a long time, and I went to that pagoda very often to celebrate ceremonies over there. Co-prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. And now I would like to move on to another topics, in particular your role as the Deputy Chief of Tram Kok District Hospital. And I want to now turn to the period you work at a hospital in Tram Kop district? In answer 14 of your OCIJ interview under E3 stroke 5511, you said that you were assigned to be a deputy chief of the hospital in 1926 by Ta Chim and Ta Kit, end of quote. And my question for you is as follows. Who were Ta Chim and Ta Kit? Answer. Ta Chim and Ta Kit were in the district committee. Both of them are siblings. Was the hospital at which you were assigned to work the district hospital for Tram Kop district? Answer. Yes, it was the hospital for District 105, also known as Tram Kop district. Co-prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Do you know why Ta Chim and Ta Kit assigned you to work at this hospital? Answer. They assigned me to work at this hospital because I knew how to do the injection and how to give prescription for people to use medicine. That's why I was assigned as a deputy of the hospital, this deputy chief, correction by interpreter. Prosecutor, in your OCIJ interview E3 stroke 5511 at answer 14, and I quote, you said, I was sent to work in the hospital by Ta Kit and Ta Chim because I was able to provide some treatments to my family, end of quote. Is this your correct statement to the OCIJ? Witness, yes, this is correct. Prosecutor, thank you. Witness. Had you ever had any medical training before 1926, before you were assigned as a deputy chief for that hospital? Answer, no, I didn't receive any training. Co-prosecutor, thank you, witness. But now I would like you to locate the hospital, where it was located, in what village, commune. Was the hospital located at or near a pagoda called Wat Trapangkul? Answer. The District 105 hospital located at Wat Trapangkul. It was in Trapang Swai village of Trapang Thom Cheung commune. Co-prosecutor, thank you, Mr. Witness. Was the Tram Kop District Hospital also known as Hospital 22 or M22? Answer. The Hospital of District 105 and Hospital 22 were two different hospitals. Hospital 22 was for the zone army hospital. Yeah, this. Question: Can you tell the court how many staff were there at your hospital? Answer: There were more than 90 staff, both male and female, and including those who were doing the cooking and transporting equipment and material. Co-prosecutor: You were a deputy chief of that hospital, and who was the chief at that time? Answer: The chief of District 105 hospital, but the first chief was female maid, and then female ja, and then Neri Ning was the last chief, and we had 3 chiefs in a row. Do you have any idea why only women were assigned as the chief for that hospital?
Answer: Through my understanding, the women were appointed as chiefs of the hospital as they were party members. They were all party members, the 3 of them. But let me stress, they did not come at the same time. One came to replace another, as one was the chief for only 4 or 5 months and was replaced. Questioned: From what you just stated, only a party member was appointed as chief of the hospital. Is that correct? Answer: Yes. Only a party member would be appointed as chief of a hospital. Did the hospital chief have medical expertise or skills? Answer: In fact, the 3 women who were the chief of the hospital, they did not have any idea at all about the medicine. And as for Neri Maid, she did not even know how to read. Thank you. And I'd like to ask you about the hospital at the sector level, that is for sector 13, and a hospital at the zone level for the southwest zone. Were there such hospitals at the sector and zone levels? Answer: There was a sector hospital. It was called Tropang Ronip, and the zone hospital was at Ong Tasaum, at Dam Chambok. Thank you. Questioned: Did any of Tamok's children or siblings have positions at the district, sector, or zone hospitals? If so, please provide the details. Answer: As for hospitals at the district, at the sector, or at the zone level, there was a younger sister of a Tamok named Yi Kun, who worked at the zone hospital. Question: how did you know about that? Answer: that hospital was near on the South Market, and when I referred the patients through the hospital, I could refer them either to the sector hospital or to the zone hospital in case of seriousness of the illness. That's why I knew her. Question: did the Mok younger sister have a medical expertise or received any medical training? President, Mr. Witness, please observe the microphone. Witness: to my knowledge, she was not that skillful in the medical field, but there were people dealing with the technical issues in that hospital. Prosecutor, thank you. Let me go back to your OCRJ interview. That is document E3/5511. In answer 14, you described receiving some training after you were appointed to work at the hospital in 1976. And you also stated that your first training lasted 3 months, and that you trained at the sector or zone hospital by a person named Say, and that you were trained with human anatomy. Can you tell us what months in 1976 you had these 3 months of training? President, witness, please wait, and Counsel Coupe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think in this particular case, the prosecution should be including the second part of the sentence, which says there's a 6 months training. It is within the same sentence. First training lasted 3 months, and the second one lasted 6 months. So I don't see why we are limiting ourselves to this 3 months training.
Prosecutor, Mr. President, allow me to respond. I have some more questions on the issue of the 6-month training. Let me now focus on the 3 months of training, and after that I will move on to the 6 months of training. President, Mr. Witness, please respond to the last question put to you by the Deputy National Co-Prosecutor, if you can recall it. If not, you can ask the question to be put again to you. Prosecutor, my question to you is the following. In what months in 1976 did you receive the 3-month training? Answer: I cannot recall the month or the year of that training. However, I can recall that that was the first training, medical training, and it lasted for 3 months. Question: and can you recall when you concluded that training? I mean, in what month? Answer: no, I cannot recall it. In fact, the 3-month training was not consecutive. It was on and off. And if you count the actual days of training, it was roughly around 2 weeks only. Question: And then can you tell the court when did you start working at that district hospital? Answer, I cannot recall the month. However, it was toward late 1976. I mean, almost the beginning of 1977. Question. I also have another question on this training. As you stated that you were trained with German anatomy. What do you mean by that? Answer. As for the training with German anatomy, we would study the skeletons of a human body. We would study the internal organs, including the liver and other organs. So, in short, we studied everything about human anatomy, inside and outside. Question. You also stated that you later had additional training that lasted as much as 6 months. When and where did that second training session take place? Answer. For the second training session, it was held at the sector hospital at Tribunal. And question, and when did you receive that training? Answer. It was in late 1977. President. It is now convenient to take a short break. We will take a break now and return at 10:30. And court officer, please assist the witness during the break and have him return with his duty counsel to the courtroom at 10:30. The court is now in recess.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ